I know they watch. Streets ain't safe, now churches ain't safe. What we supposed to run to when the nation feels safe? I'm living on the top of this, I'm pain and I'm worried. And I gotta calm down, shit down in Bible study. Please speak to me, Lord, now we need you in our hurry. So carping these devices, carping all the vices, carping all the media, telling us what our lives is. Hate, fear, and violence, smiling, we need to violence, Lord. This thing's back here. Look back here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are about to play some music in a little bit, but I wanted to have a conversation with folks and talk about the art of debate. But before I get to the art of debate, I want to talk about the power that the Black community, the influence that the Black community has that we don't typically take advantage of. We shape and mold culture in every single facet of society. Our culture is duplicated, replicated, but it's also one of the largest exports out to the entire world. We're movers and shakers. And I say that to say that we need to realize the power that we have. There's a lot of things going on right now and a lot of symbolic things going on. And one of the previous shows we had, we talked about symbolism. I was having a debate with somebody earlier this week or last week, or actually over the weekend. They were really excited about the new Supreme Court justice. And I wasn't too excited about it. If we rewind the page back to 1991, when Clarence Thomas was appointed to the Supreme Court during George Bush Sr.'s presidency, what's happened? What's changed? Nothing. There was a famous quote when Thurgood Marshall was his tenure was coming to an end, and he was getting a lot of pressure from folks saying that, hey, we need to get somebody Black in there. We need to get somebody Black to replace you. And his comment, and I'm paraphrasing, was basically a Black snake can bite you just as fast as a white snake. So we had Clarence Thomas in office, or Supreme Court justice, nothing tipping to the benefit of the Black community. Nothing tipping to the benefit of the Black community. And it's going to be the same show. We have to stop falling for symbolism. There's a lot of symbolism going on, and we got to stop falling for it. And we also have to start calling people out that look like us, that are pushing agendas that aren't us. All Black people on a monolith, and it's time to stop being mascots for all these different narratives out there, for all these different organizations, whether it's the LGBTQ or feminism or to the left or to the right or centrist or Republican or the Democrats. We need to start holding people accountable. We have to start holding people accountable. When the Voting Rights Act happened in the mid-60s, nothing has changed. And LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, said when he signed that into law, his quote in the background, and a lot of this stuff is out for public consumption, so don't take my word for it, do your research. His quote is, we're going to be having N-words, because he used the word, we're going to be having N-words voting Democrat for the next 100 years. And look at it. Our community is a powerful community. It's a strong community. It's a smart community. Just sit back and think about what would happen if the dollar stayed in our community a week. What kind of change would that make for us? 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 30 days, 45 days, instead of the dollar only circulating in our community, it's gone in 6 hours. 6 hours. One of the things that Demos and I talk about, we mentioned some of the social issues, but that while that's important, it doesn't underscore the fact that the economic issues are out there. I don't want a national Black hymn. That doesn't change the lever in our community. Another Black Supreme Court justice does not change the lever in our community. Fake bills like the George Floyd Act that was signed that has no teeth. You're still giving the police billions of dollars and you don't address the qualified immunity. And then the Emmett Till anti-lynching bill doesn't even have the word Black in it. Minorities, people of color. We're not a protected class in this country, and we're the class that's being targeted and have been targeted for centuries. Not years, not decades, centuries. When you look at the anti-Asian and Pacific Islander bill, it's the term Asians are littered all throughout that bill. I mean, you can't make no mistake at all about that. They're a protected class in this country. But all these bills that we have named after Black folks, and the term Black is not even in the bills, that doesn't mean nothing. And we can't be dancing and thinking that we've gotten far. We don't have the economics. We don't have the economics. We're not getting that. And we're not going to get it from anybody else. Daryl and I had a conversation a few weeks ago where we basically said we're going to keep their name out of our mouth. So let's pretend we're on a planet, our own planet. There's nothing but Black people on that planet. Who are we going to blame? Who can we blame? We got to start calling out the Sambos, people pushing narratives on both sides. This is not a Democratic thing. This is not a Republican thing. This is getting economic justice. And you can't fall for terms like people of color because that dilutes the impact of the Black community. You can't fall for terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. What does that mean? It doesn't mean us. We have the bandwidth, both intellectually and financially, to make real change for our community. Real change. We can't be sitting around waiting for bills that don't even address us, that don't even protect us, but it sounds good because it's named after a Black person. We can't be sitting around waiting for economic justice when everybody else is getting money. Everybody else. Ukrainians, billions of dollars. Afghans, billions. But you know what's interesting? is a lot of these countries that we're funneling billions for and so upset behind the atrocities that's happening are countries that we fought wars against. And we're still giving them money. I was having a conversation with a friend who was talking about a certain candidate. Someone was like, well, I don't like him. Who cares if you like people? Who cares? You can't sit there and tell me that every Chinese person likes every Chinese person that they're doing business with. They don't. Or every Jewish person likes every other Jewish person that they're conducting business with. They don't. Or every Irish person likes every Irish person they're conducting business with. Or every Puerto Rican or Hispanic likes every other Puerto Rican or Hispanic that they're conducting business with. They don't. They don't. They look at, it's all about the big picture. What can I get done with the help of this person? Money exchanges, ideas exchange, and then things get done. I don't gotta like you, you don't have to like me. But if you've got something that I need and I've got something that you need, that's a transaction. That's what the barter system was all about. We can't get caught up in personalities and emotions because that gets us nowhere. And that's part of the game plan. Keep them distracted, keep them off balance. I don't like this person, I don't want to work with this person. And that person might not even know that you dislike them. But if you have a great idea and you bring something to the table, and they're the person that can help launch it, why would you handicap yourself over that? Why? Or vice versa. We've got to get it together. We've got to get it together. We've got to. Now, there's been a lot of talk on the political side that, the Democrats are nervous because Black people are, they're not coming out, they're not going to vote. Some Black people are not going to show up for the vote, or they're going to do a protest vote. Okay, whatever you want to do. But here's the thing: if you really want change, you start locally. Those people that work in the House and the Senate, they get voted locally. The president has a leash on. It's the senators and the congressmen that you put into office. Focus on the local politics. Ferguson is a great example of, you look at the school committee in a predominantly Black town, and they're mostly non-Black. Do you think somebody's going to care about your Black kids? You look at the school committee here in Springfield, some of the things that have gone down, unconscionable things that are designed to harm Black kids and brown kids. And the Black people on the school committee voted against it, except for one. I can't remember her name. What's the name? Maria Perez introduced the bill. But the other Black and Hispanic people on the school committee, nah, we don't want that. But all the other non-Blacks said, yeah, we need that. Who do you think ushers in the superintendent of schools? You do. When you vote for the mayor, the sheriff, the district attorney. That's all stuff you have control over. City council. That's all things you have control over. If you just take the Black vote alone, because Dr. Henry Clark said we have no allies, and we don't. Just because you might have one cool person who's like a Hispanic, or one cool person who's not Black, who might be white, that's that one person. That's that one individual. That doesn't mean everybody's like that, because I've seen it firsthand. How people will turn on you real quick when they get the pressure put on them. real quick. I ain't gonna name names, but I got a couple of names floating in my head right now. I might drop them one day, but I'm not dropping them now. Black community does not have any allies. Not only do we got to worry about the Sambos in our community, and then the foreign folks that share the same melanin that come over into this country and they try not to identify with us, and we help shape their culture, and then every other ethnicity and race out there on our backs. There's a caste system in this country. And if you're not familiar with the caste system, India is a great example. You have, I think there's 4 Hindu castes, and then at the very bottom you got untouchables. In this country, the foundational Black Americans are at the bottom of the caste system. We are the untouchables, and everybody else is piled on top of us. Everybody else. So I'm having a debate with somebody, and I was accused of being divisive when I was really being the voice of dissent. When you look at talk shows, I'm going back, I'm 53, so the Martin Downey Jr. show, which was crazy growing up, that was pure entertainment. Same thing with the show with the guy who's like, this is Maury Povich or Jerry Springer, all entertainment. Or even when you go to look at The View, not every single person sitting on a panel is going to agree with you. Because people are people. People have different opinions, people have different thoughts. You gravitate towards people that you have similar interests with. But even at that point, there's going to be a dissection of interest. There might not be a great dissection, but there's going to be a dissection of interest. Okay, you like chocolate ice cream? I like vanilla ice cream. Everything else we're cool with. Oh, you like vanilla ice cream, but I like M&Ms on it. Oh, you like Oreos on yours. When you're talking to somebody and you know that they're wrong, and you have a public forum, or it's in a public setting, while people are formulating opinions and ideas based on the conversation or the debate, and you sit there because you don't want to be argumentative or polemic, there's a way of doing things. You don't need to be bombastic, but you know what? Hey, I appreciate your point, but I have to disagree with you because of X, Y, and Z. And then when you say X, Y, and Z, you bring your receipts. So it's just not anecdotal. I disagree with you X, Y, and Z because of this, and this. Oh, and I have some further information to back that up. I learned a long time ago, you can't have a rational conversation with an irrational person, and you can't hold somebody accountable who won't hold themselves accountable. You just can't. So when you're having a conversation with somebody and they disagree with you, that's fine. That's what conversations are about. You got A, B, and the dialogue in between is called the feedback. Everything doesn't have to be in an agreement. But if you've got information to help people, you've got to share that information, because somebody might be making a decision based on what you're saying. And you got to question everything. Please listen to what I'm saying to you. Question everything. Question what I'm saying. You don't got to agree with what I'm saying. Look it up. Question it. But you just can't just sit there and just regurgitate talking points because, A, they kind of fit your narrative or it's comfortable for you to just listen to what somebody's saying and then believe it, even though when you really know you don't believe it. You got to question everything. And as a community, it's important because we're being fed miseducation every single day. Our children are going to school and being miseducated. And not just the children who are impressionable. Guess what? As adults, we tend to be impressionable. How many people that you know, do you have a conversation with and you're like, man, that person's gullible as hell? Or that person's easily swayed. Or they just change they change their opinion and they flip-flop back and forth. You know people like that. And hey, that may even be you. But if you've got knowledge and the receipts, it's incumbent upon you to make sure you share that with folks. What's going on in politics right now, some people are scared. Some parties are scared. And certain parties have done nothing for the Black community. And some people are like, well, vote red till you're dead, blue for who cares about that? What is that individual? What are they doing? What are they going to do for the community? And everybody has history. You just can't fall for the words. Yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. There's groups in this country that are getting things that haven't raised any issues or any complaints, and they're automatically getting money, automatically getting access to resources, automatically getting bills and laws signed. And they haven't said anything. Whereas we're screaming at the top of our lungs, we're even dying out there in mass, and we're still not getting anything. So what does that tell you? The Democrats say that they're going to do a lot, and they don't. And the Republicans don't say anything because they don't have to. But these people over here ain't doing anything. And I'm not saying these people are going to do something, but over here, I'm tired of the okie doke. They got to hold their own brass at this point. You're trying to get people who aren't American citizens the ability to vote. And I think New York City is allowing immigrants the right to vote. And I think in San Francisco, they're even allowing people, non-citizens, to become cops. You know what? Go ahead. Let them falter. Let them pander to those folks. Black people, we got to stop doing what we've always been doing. The definition of sanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. These cats haven't done anything for us since the 1964, the Voting Rights Act. I think that was 66. But you know what I mean. Nothing at all. So what are you going to do? That's the question. What are you going to do? What are you going to do as an individual? What are you going to do as a community? What are you going to do? Got to start calling some of these people out. Some of these people can't be invited to the cookout. Some of these people they shouldn't be even invited in your space. And if you've got someone that looks like me or somebody else with the melanin, and you know that they're going against the community, you got to call them out too. You want my vote? You want my business? You got to prove it. What have you done lately? What did Janet Jackson say? What have you done for me lately? Well, you know what? Let's rewind that back to 1964, 65, 66. What have you done for me lately? And their simple answer is nothing. Nothing at all. Go out and support your Black businesses. Go out and support your Black people. Hold school committee members accountable. Hold these teachers that are miseducating our kids, hold them accountable. Hold these police accountable. Hold the mayor and politicians accountable. Hold everybody accountable. The Black vote alone in this city can change the dynamic. There could be a significant shift in power overnight. None of these politicians that are sitting in the seats, regardless of what party or affiliation they are, have done nothing for you. Nothing. And there may be somebody out there that's fed up that might want to run. Encourage that person. or I encourage you to run. But if you want immediate change, it's not voting for the president. It's voting for your mayor, voting for your city council, voting for, some towns it's alderman, it's voting for the sheriff, the DA. Those are people that hold significant weight over access to resources. I don't want to talk about social justice. We've been talking about that for decades. Do we want equality? Yes, we do. The equity piece, that's the piece you need to focus on. And when I say equity, I'm not like, oh, okay, we got more Black faces in higher places. A lot of those folks don't espouse what the Black community needs. They espouse for what they need. That's not the equity I'm talking about. I'm talking about funds, financials, money. I don't want to hear about committees to study X, Y, and Z. There were no committees to study all the other ethnicities that got reparations or got funds or funding. All these people from other countries, war-torn countries, are not coming over here and getting access to resources. Imagine if you just flipped it upside down and all those billions of dollars, even trillions in some cases, going outside the country, get redirected into cities and metropolitan areas, or even rural areas. People talk about cities are in dismay, and yeah, they are. But there's a lot of poverty out there in the rural areas too. Imagine if you took all that funding and redirected it internally. Imagine the impact that would have on a community, on our community, and on every community. But I got to talk about my community. There's people in this country that need resources today, yesterday. And you're writing blank checks during a recession, and there's an inflation going on right now. People complain about the cost of everything going up. And it is going up. Not just gas, goods, services, food, everything's going up. The dollar's having a less impact. Inflation is real, folks, and it's gonna get worse. People keep writing these checks out, and those checks keep going out. Accounts payable out, not accounts receivable. Accounts payable going out to countries and people that don't even like us. And we're funding them? Come on. That mess doesn't make any sense. No sense at all. Let me pivot back to the original conversation. The Black community has the funds, multi-trillion. We spend over $1 trillion every year making other people rich. We're the highest consumers. We spend money on everything that has nothing to do to uplift the Black community. 97 cents of every dollar goes out to non-Black entities. Don't believe me? Look it up. There's data everywhere. We spend 99% of our money supporting a culture, community, and a system that does not like us, does not love us, does not even want us around. We're being attacked all over the place. Every facet of society, we're being attacked. What are you going to do about it? That's the question. Not only what are you going to do about it, what are you prepared to do about it? You're going to walk in the booth and flick the same Democratic thing? And listen, I'm not Democratic or Republican. I'm independent. So I'm not like bigging up one party over the other. But you haven't gotten nothing for 50, 60 years. So maybe, don't you think it's time for a change? The shoe's worn out. The cobbler can't resole the shoe. Time for a change. Don't you think it's time for a change? Let's start right here in Springfield. You got one position that impacts several positions. The mayor's office impacts superintendent of schools, chief of police, and a lot of other city functions and roles. You make that one change. And you're going to see overnight, by that one single change, you're going to see a benefit. People just can't be institutional politicians, just over and over and over. Vote for me, vote for me, vote for me. There's nobody in this city that is down for the Black community. Everyone's down for themselves. And there's Black folks in this city that are down for themselves. They get themselves a position or get a little bit of grant money here and there, and all of a sudden they're standing next to people who have actively and aggressively targeted your community. And they're smiling because they got something out of it. Those people need to be called out. Not only the people who are doing the damage, but the people who are supporting the damage. They got to be called out and ostracized. Yeah, nah, you can't hang out here. We're all set. Then you got those folks that all they do is talk. That political machine is strong. Very strong. Talk, 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 and you look for the receipts and they're blank. They're blank receipts. So there comes a point in time where it's like, okay, I'm done talking. The proof is in the pudding. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? You got to ask yourself that and take the emotion out. You don't have to like me. You don't have to deal with me. That's got nothing to do with the work that needs to be done. Remember the movie Gangs of New York with Leonardo DiCaprio and some other actors were in there. Those were all Irish people fighting. They were different sects, and they were fighting each other for power. And then one Black dude that was down one of the Irish crews, you know, he ended up getting killed just because he was Black. It doesn't matter who you're down with. You really got to be down with community. So if they don't like each other, what makes you think they're going to like you? That's just facts. You got to remember, they fought 2 world wars. There were no Black people over there. They're fighting each other. What makes you think they're going to cape for you? But we're so rich in culture and art and music and education and inventions. Chuck D said on his album cover, and it was just like, I listened to Public Enemy when I was in college, and the beats were hard, and I was just focusing on the beats, but there was messages in everything back then. Arrested Development, KRS-One, Boogie Down Productions, Big Daddy Kane was spitting some stuff, X-Clan, but Public Enemy's album, It Takes a Nation of Millions to Hold Us Back. That didn't hit me till like a few years ago. I'm like, oh man, did you just realize what this dude wrote? And it does. And regardless of all that stuff, we're still surviving, we're still persevering, we're still growing, we're still being successful out there, in spite of the obstacles. Our parents told us, you got to be 10 times better. I know you all heard that. So you got to ask yourself, what are you going to do? I can sit here and tell you about all the racist programs and targeting and everything that's happening out there. But there's not a black person listening to this that doesn't already know that. We know all that stuff. I can't tell you something new that you already don't know or you already haven't seen. I can't. So instead of focusing on the others and just pontificating over atrocities and mistreatment, let's talk about solutions. If you feel your child's not getting the right education, homeschooling is a growing trend. Or maybe you get some folks together and you open up your own school. Or you do what some of the other communities do. They send their kid to public school, but then they come home and then they get re-education. We see that in the Asian community. They're integrated in the schools, and then they get home and then they taught their culture because it's important for them to know their culture. The Jewish community does it. A lot of other communities do it. If you don't have the time or the wherewithal, or if you don't think you have the aptitude to, homeschool or the resources to put together to create your own school, there's a lot of information out there, a lot of books out there, a lot of DVDs out there that can educate you and your children on the contributions of Black people in this country. So while they're getting miseducated, they're coming home and again re-educated. And when your child knows about your history, that increases and improves self-esteem. When you know how great you are, people can't tear you down. They can't. I remember I was in school, Hannibal of Carthage was my dude. I remember the great kings and queens of Africa posters. I had all of them. And Hannibal caught my eye because he was sitting on top of an elephant holding the dagger. And I was reading everything I could about that guy, whose tactics are still used today at West Point and other military academies. And my history teacher she was asked going to class asking, who your favorite historical figure was. And I said Hannibal, and she was talking about him, and then she mentioned that he was white. I was like, no, he wasn't. And we went back and forth, and I wasn't being disrespectful. I ended up getting in detention. But if I didn't do my own research in 9th grade, that took place. If I didn't do my own research, I would have just taken what she said and was like, oh, maybe I'm wrong because she's a teacher and I'm a student, because she's an adult and I'm a child. No, I wasn't wrong. How many times do you think your kids are being told something that's inaccurate? It's on you to teach them that. And you might not know it. Educate yourself. Make it a family thing. There was a story, and I've said it multiple times. I was going to school in Nashville, New Hampshire, honor roll, and student athlete, getting recruited by schools to play basketball, great grades. I'm the paragon of a scholastic athlete ready for college. I'm the model. My guidance counselor told me that I should go in the military. 180 miles away, Daramar, smart, bright kid. Guidance counselor told him, you got to go in the military. His guidance counselor didn't know my guidance counselor. That's what being on code is. That's what being on code is. They're all on code. Funnel them in the military. I remember my dad was in the Vietnam War, and he was talking about how they were throwing all the Black soldiers to the front lines. We need to be on code. And being on code has to equate to dollars. If you know a Black-owned business, Bumpy's, when I gotta get my organic groceries and things like that, let me see what options do I have. I've got Big Y, I've got Stop and Shop, I've got Trader Joe's, if I want to take the drive, and I have Whole Foods. Or I have Bumpy's. It's so easy. Oh, I'm so used to going to Big Y. Get unused to it. Stop at Bumpy's first. Get what you need there, and if you get what you can get, and if you still have to go to those stores, fine. But put that dollar in that black store. We talk about mental health in our community, both how it impacts black males and also black females. Well, how many of you know about the African mental health clinic, Diaspora, over there on State Street? I'm a huge proponent of black people should go to black clinicians for their problems. You don't have to re-explain yourself and your culture and how you grew up there. And it's safe, and they understand, and they can relate. I don't care what's in the DSM. I don't care about words. We already know where those things came from. We know the history behind those unscientific or duplicitous intent on some of those diagnoses or prognoses. African American Mental Health Diaspora, I might be saying it wrong, but check them out. They're on State Street. And there's plenty of black therapists or clinicians in and around Springfield. My dentist, black. Now, someone might say, oh, well, how'd you find a black dentist? I looked. It was a concerted effort. It was intentional. I asked around, and then I also looked myself. I didn't question about, how long has she been a dentist? Where's she located? How's her shop look? I don't like her hair. I don't know if I like her. She's black, and that's my dentist. I need to pre-qualify her. I need to act as some sort of gatekeeper. Dr. Jean Lafayette, she's in Bloomfield. Jean, Jean, Lafayette. Google it, spell it. That's my dentist. And let's not talk about the countless and boundless black-owned restaurants in the region. I travel all the way down to New Haven to go to Sandra's. But there's local places out here in Hartford, there's places out here in Springfield. It's a black-owned fine dining restaurant in Suffield, Connecticut. And then the trainers, and then the coaches, painters, builders, electricians. I don't want to hear any more of this. Oh, well, you know how black people are, or I can't trust black people, they're overpricing. The other folks are overpricing you too. And when I say too, I don't mean that black folks are automatically overpricing. I'm just saying, don't you want to support a black family? So you don't spend your money there, you'll spend your money over there, and then you open up a business, and then you're like, if you're not willing to spend your dollar with a black business, then you're complaining that no one's spending their money with you. The hypocrisy there. And there's a dope sandwich shop, super salad, right there on is that Belmont, heading into East Long Meadow? And she's a chef. She works at a university, and she had the courage, because not everybody can strike out on their own and create their own business. It takes a lot of courage and moxie. She's still working at the university, but she's got her shop, and you got to go check it out. And you've got multiple black men's groups out there for support black men in every facet. Then you've got black women groups out there to support black women in every facet. You got doulas out there that teach it and also support black family out there. There's so much that we have in our community. We just have to take that dollar, and instead of going out this way to the right, put it to the left. And I'm just talking about foundational black Americans in this country spend over $1 trillion, depending on what economist you talk to, it could be anywhere between 1.2 trillion to 1.7 trillion. When you roll that up into GDP, we're a top 10 or a top 15 country. That's more money than Russia, Saudi Arabia, United Emirates, where Dubai is located. More money than Finland, Sweden, more money than Argentina, more money than any African country. And I think there's 52 countries, right, in Africa. More money. And Nigeria is the largest economy there. More money than Nigeria and any other African country. That's just Black Americans here. That's what we generate every single year. Every single year. When you look at the top countries, okay, US is number one, then China, the European Union, when you add them all together, is number two. But with England leaving, whatever, they're down to three. Then you have Germany, no, you have Japan, Germany, France, blah, 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 blah. And Black Americans are a top 10, top 12 country, if we were deemed a country, in terms of gross domestic product. Look it up. Look it up. But that gross domestic product is not being funneled back into the country. It's being funneled out of the country. Imagine the things we can do. We can fund our own health care. No more medical apartheids. Or people trying to tell us medical apartheid isn't true. It's old data. It's not old data. It's true data. We can fund our own financial sector. Create our own stocks and bonds. We can fund our own education sector. Educate our community. We can fund our own sports. When you look at, people talk about when Black people were integrated into baseball, that was basically, I don't want to say serendipity, but a white guy walking down the street looking at bustling Black businesses and Black communities, and was like, oh, I want to tap into these dollars, so let's let them in. And then the rest. What if we're going to go back to, having our own league? If you're good enough, you can play in it, but look at all the stuff that Serena and Venus deal with. Oh, Naomi Osaka dealing with. Create our own tennis. Let me tell you something. When we create our own leagues, sports leagues, everybody else is going to want to be in our leagues. Everywhere we go, everybody wants to be down with us. But then they don't want to be down with us. Imagine if you're winning a sports award in the league but you haven't played the top in the Black tennis league. Something inside you, if you're a true athlete, you know you're missing out on something. Creating our own movies, creating a narrative that depicts us not as thugs or nonsense. Having our own stories that don't have hidden meaning and hidden messages in them. True to the community, not pushing a narrative or an agenda. Creating our own transportation networks, whether it's sea, air, railroad. We don't control any ports in this country. We don't have a national trucking firm. There's literally nothing we can't do if we redirect those dollars inward. if we redirect those dollars inward, a lot of these problems, when you got money in your pocket, a lot of these problems get dissipate. You've bought your equality. One of the things I loved about Boomerang was Eddie Murphy when he's getting clowned, or when he first walked in through through his company, all those black faces, and everybody was just like, "Hey, hey!" He was like, "Hey, hey!" Can you imagine not having to worry about how your hair looks? Someone talking to you about your hair or your music, or why are you wearing that? That you're not dealing with microaggressions on a regular. Can you imagine? That's not fiction. You can make it real. That's how much money the black community has. But everybody wants it. It's not in their best interest for us to take the dollar and go left with it. It's to keep the dollar going this way. Because they need that. They need your black dollar to survive. They just can't survive off their own dollar. They need your black dollar. So let me ask you, Springfield, the midterms are coming up. There's a lot of black folks in this country, in this region, in the state, getting on code. They're like, enough is enough. We don't need to go through another decade of not getting anything. What are you folks prepared to do? We talked about challenges and issues, and we don't need to go through them. We already know. In the mayor's office. We talked about challenges and issues with the police force. We talked about challenges and issues from an educational standpoint. And then you got quality of life, which kind of is somewhat inextricably linked towards all of them. So we're going to focus on the main three. The issues in the mayor's office, police, and education. You got three main issues. But check this out. If you address the first main issue, the other two issues get corrected. If you address, let me say for the people sitting in the back, rolling their eyes, talking about, I don't want to mess up with this good job. If you address the main issue, the other two get corrected. You heard of compound interest? When those other two get corrected, it has a compound effect in every other department in the city. So if you're not registered to vote, get registered. And don't vote for the same person you voted for during the last election. You address this issue, the other two get corrected. You got diabetes, you switch to a low carb diet. I hate to use the word diet, but you switch to low carb intake and you minimize or eliminate as much as you can sugar. That's in everything. Low carb, limit sugar. The diabetes type 2 gets addressed. You don't feel good. You're always out of breath. You're out of breath. You have high blood pressure, low carb diet, exercise. You can throw the exercise in the diabetes thing. This is the issue. These are the solutions to address this. It's not rocket science. And I'm just telling you the facts. And stay away from the people that are mascots for the others, that are avatars for the others. Stay away from those people. Don't listen to them. And you don't have to like each other. You don't have to like each other. That's immaterial. So that's my diatribe. But going forward, and we're going to keep reiterating this, is we're not going to talk about, we're going to keep the others out of our conversation. We may highlight some of the problems, but we're going to focus on solutions. We all know the problems, and they haven't changed in decades. Don't you think it's time for a change? Don't you think it's time we need to change? We can't wait for people to do it because no one's going to do it. We got to do it ourselves. We have to do it ourselves. We can't wait for no politician or anybody to do it. We have to do it ourselves. And we got to build up the Black business community. No other community throws out athletes and entertainers and singers to talk about politics, to talk about issues. I can't even remember the Cardi B. What does she know? You see Tom Brady on the TV talking about things? That's how dumb. Are we dumb as a community, as a people? That these people come and talk, they're entertainers. Where do you think their checks come from? Where do you think their checks come from? I remember I used to tell my son used to love Kobe. Kobe. I said, yeah, Kobe he's a great player, but he's an employee. Huh? Yeah, but he makes so much money. If Kobe makes so much money, how much money do you think Dr. Jerry Buss makes? Because he's writing that check to him. He owns the Lakers. Kobe's an employee of that organization. My son didn't really get it, and I, kind of reiterated it, several times using different other examples of other plays and people he liked. Who do you think pays these actors and actresses and these athletes and these entertainers? They don't want to mess up their money, and they're so afraid of their sponsors. Imagine if we had a bunch of Black sponsors, how many athletes and entertainers and actors and so on and so forth would be able to speak their mind instead of speaking their mind at, a dinner party in a corner somewhere, the dinner party to the dinner party. Don't fall for the okie doke. There's a lot of bad actors out there. Let them look like us. Weed them out and make a change. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to continue talking about it. No more complaining about stuff. And I don't care about social justice. I care about economic justice. We've been fighting for social justice for 50, 60 years. It's gotten us nowhere. And that's what they want us on, the social justice train. Well, we're getting off that train and we're jumping on the economic justice train. We're going to jump on that train and ride that into the station. You fix this problem, the other two get corrected. It's a simple process. That's all I got to say for tonight. Good night, everybody. And remember what I said? Think about it.